No matter where you go when you're playing online multiplayer, it seems like they all have the same problems. You know, the usual: bad teammates, the enemy team is a pro esports team, and I'm on a 5-game losing streak. And now it's time to complain about matchmaking in online multiplayer games. Now, most of these complaints are pretty much going to be focused on Overwatch and Apex, but these problems can probably be found in other online multiplayer games. Now let's start with how these games make even winning bad. Let me explain. When you claw your way to victory, it's sometimes a double-edged sword, because you and I know that every time you queue for a match, you run the risk of the sweat squad being on the enemy team. But when you win, it feels like getting matched with the sweat squad is a lot more likely. Now this is probably because most matchmakers try and do a 50-50 win rate, but that doesn't make it any better. While we're on the topic of sweat squads, let's talk about steamroll matches. Steamroll matches are when one team is completely obliterating the other team. So either your team is losing hard or you're beating the enemy team into the ground. And while these matches aren't every single match, they're far too common. At least for me. Stomping an enemy team into the ground isn't all that fun, especially when you are destroying someone and you're not even playing at your best. And I don't mean that in a boastful manner. What I mean is when you're playing casually without the intention of outperforming them, but they're just dropping the ball every single time. When you're doing the stomping and steamroller matches, it feels like the matchmaker is just intentionally putting people that are just having an off day or people that just installed the game on the enemy team. And of course, if you're on the team that's being stomped, that is very understandably not fun. I guess what I'm saying is, while these matches will probably still happen, they should be a lot rarer. Next on the list is losing streaks. It would be real nice if the matchmaker could adapt. If you happen to be playing horribly one day, all I'm saying is that if I'm going on a very long loss streak, let's say 5 games, it'd be nice if the matchmaker could give me an easier enemy team next match. Now yes, the system could easily be abused, but something like this would be nice to have. It would pretty much have to work on an honor system for it to work at all, and let's be honest, online multiplayer, there's not a shred of honor to be found there. The next complaint would be the matchmaker not taking into account that you're not playing your main. The complaint is more focused towards games that have multiple characters that you can pick from and have different abilities from each other, like in Overwatch or Apex Legends. In a game with a lot of characters to pick from, sometimes you settle on one or two that you like for one reason or another. You play them for a while, get comfortable, and then maybe you want to experiment, see what else the roster has to offer. Thing is, if you try a different character, you're still playing with the same MMR. Now, yes, switching characters doesn't mean you immediately get lobotomized and lose all previous knowledge of game sense and basic gameplay mechanics. But if you're playing someone that just has a different playstyle than what you're used to, it's still a lot of learning that needs to be done. It's a lot like if you're moving to another country. The basic stuff is more or less the same, but you still have to learn a new language and learn what the cultures and customs are. What I'm saying is that it would be nice if the matchmaker took into account that if you're playing someone new that you don't have a lot of time on, maybe it could make the matches a bit easier. So you're not as discouraged from all the losses you're inevitably going to accrue from playing someone you're not familiar with. I'm not saying throw me in with the people that just installed the game and people that are trying to figure out what the W key on their keyboard does. What I am saying is that maybe make it a bit easier so I actually have a chance to learn. And lastly, I'm surprised the matchmaker doesn't use the amount of time played over the course of a week as another additional factor when putting together matches. Let me explain. So you are John Workman. You get maybe 2 hours of free time during the work week. And yes, we're talking about the work week specifically in this example. And to clarify, that is Monday through Friday. So you, John Workman, get 2 hours of free time every day, while John Streamer streams this game consistently as his career, so he does this for about 8 hours every day. So let's go through the week and see how many hours you get. So John Workman would get about 10 hours of playtime for this week, while John Streamer would get about 40 hours of playtime this week. If we could add playtime as an additional factor when trying to put people together for matchmaking, it'd be nice if everyone in the match had a similar amount of playtime. This is an attempt to make it so that everyone's more or less in the same skill range when playing. Now you could say that, oh, MMR/skill-based matchmaking should already be doing that. And let me say this, I don't exactly know how MMR works, obviously it's different on a per game basis, but I also feel like it never degrades. So sometimes you'll be hopping into matches where the game assumes you're still playing close to your peak performance, but maybe you haven't touched the game in like a week or maybe more, maybe a month. The weekly playtime idea is so that it's another way to help ease you back into a game. So that way if you haven't touched it in a while, It's not going to throw you into a match with people that are still playing consistently. It's just another factor to make it hopefully better. But anyway, that's about everything I've got so far. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a wonderful morning, noon, or night. Goodbye.